What's up, Falcons Nation? It's your boy Jew coming at you guys with another edition of What's the Word, Dirty Bird. Before I get started tonight, I have my twin who wanted to say what's up to the people before we start the show. This is my oldest son, EJ, my twin. Say what's up to everybody.
What's up?
All right. He wanted to make his cameo, y'all. We're going to say what's up to the people real quick, and then he's going to exit stage left. So what's going on, Bubba Gump? What's going on, man? I appreciate you joining tonight.
Yes, sir.
Noah, the professor's in the building. What's going on, Noah Tyndale? Y'all definitely go check out his content as well. Jonte Rozier, what's going on, man? I appreciate you joining tonight. Norman Fitzgerald, he said, Big Jew, what's going on, man? Tony Wright, what's going on, man? I appreciate you joining. He said, how you doing, EJ?
Good.
Red Swan, what's going on? He said, you and the bodyguard, what's going on? Norman Fitzgerald, he said, what's good, EJ?
What's good, boy?
He can't see you on the camera. You got to get in the camera. Okay.
Sure, man.
D. Coleman, what's going on, man?
What's going on?
Millie Mills, what it do? What's going on?
What it do, man?
Builds 9F, he said, yo, what's going on? Joseph Thornton, what's happening, man? I appreciate you joining tonight. Alex, what's going on, man? It's been a while since I seen you in the building, man. What's going on? Like I said, for the ones that don't know, this is my oldest son right here, EJ. He wanted to say hey to everybody, wanted to give a quick cameo before the show started. So, Mad Mike, what's going on, man? Y'all make sure y'all hit the like button. Make sure y'all share this content out. We appreciate each and every one of you guys. Dre Murphy, what's going on? He said, what's up, everybody? He said, Lil Jew in the back. YMOF Jamal 05, what's going on, man? I appreciate you tuning tonight. Yeah, that's my twin, most definitely, Red Swan. Kevin Henderson, what's going on, man? I appreciate you joining as well. Boomer the Falcon, what's good, man? I think I hit pretty much everybody, man, but I appreciate each and every one of you guys joining tonight. We do this every other Wednesday night until the season starts, because we're doing also the heavy hitters at 8 p.m. as well.
What does that one say?
Which one right here?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
He said, what's up, EJ? All right, y'all. So we're going to go ahead and begin the show. EJ, exit stage left.
Bye.
All right. See you later, man.
Peace.
Like I tell you guys all the time, I'm a father first. Yeah, that's my oldest son right there. That's one of my heartbeats. I got two boys, but he said he wanted to come in and make a cameo real quick and say what's up to everybody. So what's good, everybody? As I said, tonight, we're going to talk about the offensive line. And do I think the offensive line is going to show improvement, or are they going to be improved this coming season? But before we do that, we are going to do the first topic of the night, which is Atlanta Falcons news. And today in Atlanta Falcons news, our second round pick, which is Arnold Ebiketie, the outside linebacker / defensive end, he signed his contract today, which I think is like a 4-year, $9 million deal, or $9.6 million. And they said it's like $1 million towards the cap this season. So good to get the deal done with Arnold Ebiketie. I do think he's going to have a big role on this team this year, especially because we released guys like Dante Fowler Jr. We got rid of Steven Means. We pretty much did a full remodel and basically I got rid of pretty much everybody from last season that was on the defensive line other than Grady Jarrett and other than AO. Pretty much it's a bunch of new guys, a whole new crew up front on the defensive line. So I definitely think it was great that we got the deal done, got the rookie deal done for Arnold Ebiketie. I do think he's going to live up to the hype. He did play his college ball at Penn State and at Temple. And I did a video maybe I think like a week or two ago on Arnold Ebiketie. I think he's going to lead the Falcons in sacks this year. I really think he has that kind of talent. He is still a little bit raw, but I think he's one of the best pass rushers on our team right now. Out of him and D'Angelo Malone and Lorenzo Carter and the guys that we have, I think Arnold Ebiketie is going to shock a lot of people, and I think he'll have a pretty good season for us. And you got to love his nickname. I see Dre put it in here. He says AK-47. Yeah, you got to love that nickname, AK-47. So hopefully he lives up to his nickname. I think he called himself like the Rush Doctor or something like that. So hopefully he can live up to all of those nicknames that he's been given, and hopefully he can come in here and help our pass rush. But that's pretty much all we've had in Atlanta Falcons news today. I was going to drop a video, but I decided not to because I knew I was going live where I could talk about the signing of Arnold Ebiketie. But with that being said, I do want to jump into the second topic of the night, or the main topic of the night, which we're going to talk about. Will the offensive line improve this season? And I do want to put this disclosure out. It is storming really bad. I live in Orlando, Florida, and it's storming really bad outside. So if we lose power or something like that, just know what happened, that I lost power or something like that. So I do want to put that disclaimer out because it's storming really bad outside. And if you live in Florida, if you ever been to Florida, when it storms out here, it storms really bad. So with that being said, we still going to move forward with the show. But like I was saying, I do want to talk about the offensive line. If you guys have checked out Mad Mike and K-Styles earlier this week, they talked about the offensive line, I think on Monday. And then yesterday, they talked about the defensive line and Grady Jarrett. But today, I really want to touch on the offensive line because we're headed into training camp maybe in about 2 weeks. And the biggest question mark to me on this Atlanta Falcons team this season is going to be this offensive line. I really think that that's the biggest question mark heading into the season. You guys know that we're really young as far as the center position, with Hennessy playing that center position. Matt Hennessy last year taking over as the starter, with us losing Alex Mack, who was an all-pro. And then with us bringing in last season, the rookie had to basically start at that left guard position, Jalen Mayfield. He really struggled last season. So I really think that this offensive line is the biggest question mark heading into the season. Personally, I do think that the Atlanta Falcons offensive line is going to improve this season. And I really think the main thing that it's going to come down to, as far as if these guys are going to gel up front and if these guys are going to be able to improve, it's going to come down to coaching. This is something that Mike kind of talked about, far as us having one of the better coaching staffs early in Dan Quinn's regime, when we had guys like Kyle Shanahan, when we had guys like Matt LaFleur, who was the quarterback's coach for Matt Ryan in 2016. We had guys like Brian Cox, who was over the defensive line. We had really good coaches. Richard Smith was kind of like the defensive coordinator under Dan Quinn. So we had a bunch of good coaches on this coaching staff. And personally, you guys know that I'm big on player development. And I know a lot of people wanted us to go out and get J.C. Tretter, who's a center. He used to play for the Cleveland Browns, and he's a free agent. And a lot of people wanted us to go out and sign him instead of, going another year with Matt Hennessy as the starter, or possibly having him and Drew Dahlman battle it out. But personally, I'm a firm believer that you can't have all pros at every single position. Being that the salary cap is so tight, you only can afford to pay so many all-pro players and Pro Bowl type players. So at some point, your coaching staff is going to have to develop these players. So I'm really interested to see if they can develop these young guys like Jalen Mayfield, Matt Hennessy, Drew Dahlman. I really think that those guys are solid players. I just think that they need time to basically learn the NFL, learn the scheme, learn the speed of the NFL, get used to the strength of the players in the NFL, put on that weight, put on that muscle, which they should have done this offseason. Now that they're on a pro team in the Atlanta Falcons building, we have guys that help these guys weight train. We have guys that help these guys with their nutrition. So I want to see if these guys are going to come in this season ready to play and come in better than they were last season. So I really think the guys are going to improve just off of experience. Jalen Mayfield last season, he did have a really bad season. Both him and Matt Hennessy struggled. Also, Drew Dahlman, when he got his opportunities, he also struggled. But I really think they struggled because they were young players, and then we had a whole new coaching staff. So the main thing I'm looking at this season heading into the year is these coaches going to be able to get these guys ready to play, get these guys up to speed, and if these guys have put in the work in the offseason to come in and possibly shore up some things up front, because last season it was a mess up front. I mean, Matt Ryan was under siege all year. On certain plays, Matt Hennessy and Jalen Mayfield didn't block anybody on certain plays because there was a lot of confusion up front. But I really think that things are going to be a lot better this season. Like I said, just off of experience and then off of the coaching staff. I mean, our head coach, Arthur Smith, if you didn't know, was a former offensive lineman. He did play college ball, I believe, at the University of North Carolina, where he played on the offensive line. So being that he has background as far as being an offensive lineman on the collegiate level, to me, he should understand schemes. He should be able to help not only the guys that are coaching the offensive line, but he should be able to help these guys, get better. I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, you only can pay so many great offensive linemen. You only have so much money to go around. At some point, the guys that you draft, you're going to have to develop those guys to be better and to be starters in the NFL. Like I said, you have to have those glue guys. You can't expect every single guy that you have on your offensive line to be first round picks. You can't expect, to pay every single player on your offensive line. At some point, these younger players are going to have to play. These younger players are going to have to gain that experience. These younger players are going to have to take their lumps, kind of what we've seen last season. So as much as I say it's a question mark, I'm not too worried necessarily, but I do think that some of the onus not only is going to fall on the players, but I want to see if this coaching staff can actually help these guys develop and get better, because at the end of the day, with Arthur Smith being the offensive coordinator for our team, I talked about this a little bit in the video that I did about the Falcons improving on third downs. With him being the play caller, he's going to have to put these players in better positions, meaning he's going to have to call the right plays at the right time. He's going to have to put these guys in better situations. And these guys are going to have to do a better job on first and second down of eliminating those pre-snap penalties, eliminating putting yourself in third and longs, because I really think last season where we really, really struggled when Matt Ryan was under siege and under pressure was on certain plays where we were in third and long situations. The Falcons really, really struggled at protecting Matt Ryan because we didn't have the receivers to get open immediately, matchups, and we didn't have receivers that could beat press coverage. So that made our offensive line have to hold up a little bit longer than they should have had to. So with that being said, I do kind of want to get you guys' thoughts on the offensive line. Do you guys think that the offensive line play will improve this season? I definitely think it will, just by the mere fact that these guys got that experience. If these guys have put in the work in the offseason, studied the playbook, watched film of last season, I think these guys are going to be better. And I think we should hold out on panic, because I know a lot of fans are ready to hit the panic button after what we've seen last season. I know a lot of fans were saying we should go out and get J.C. Tretter. We should go out and bring in a veteran center. And, Matt Hennessy and Drew Dahlman, these guys are not good enough. And I really don't think that we've given these guys a fair shot to know if these guys are ready. Now, this season, they don't, perform up to par. At that point, I feel like then, we can judge these guys and say, okay, maybe these guys are not ready for the NFL, or maybe these guys are backups. But after one season, I think it's way too early for us to say that these guys are bust, or say that these guys can't play on the NFL level, or these guys are not starters in the NFL. But with that being said, I know a few more people has also jumped in the chat as well. So I want to say what's up. I see Dreddy in the building. What's going on? He says, "What's good, Jew? Rise up." Kenneth Lewis, this is a name that I haven't seen in a minute. He said, "What's up, Jew and AFN fam? I appreciate you joining tonight." And Big Ant, what's going on? He says, "Can't complain, bro. Just checking out this great content with Jew at Mad Mike." What's going on, man? I appreciate you tuning in. And let's see here. Marwin Johnson, what's going on, man? I appreciate you joining tonight as well. And Millie Mill says chemistry is key on the offensive line, so they should improve somewhat. Most definitely. Yeah, I completely agree. I definitely agree. Chemistry is everything. And that's something that another thing that I've talked about numerous times is you have these same guys, the same 5 guys from last year coming back this season. So that's one reason why I think if you can keep those guys together and those guys can win out and win those starting jobs, which I can't guarantee that these guys that we had last year are going to win out. Like you got Jalen Mayfield is going to be competing with Justin Schaefer, I believe his name is, out of Georgia. And then you also have Caleb McGarry, who's going to be battling with Infetti that we brought in, who was a longtime Seattle Seahawks and Chicago Bears right tackle, and he can play guard as well. So we have a lot of competition that was brought in, which should be good for both Jalen Mayfield and good for Hennessy and good for pretty much everybody on the team. I mean, the only guys I think that are etched in stone, which we pretty much all know on the offensive line, is going to be Chris Lindstrom and Jake Matthews. Like those guys, you can pretty much etch it in stone that those are going to be the starters unless they go down with injury, knock on wood. And Bills 9F says Caleb McGarry is probably the only problem. Caleb McGarry actually looked pretty good, though. I seen, he looked like he put on some muscle. Hopefully he's, worked on his technique and things of that nature. I don't think that Caleb McGarry is a terrible right tackle. I just think that he has to work on his footwork and work on his hand placement. But other than that, I think that he's had some pretty solid, like when he was a rookie and even last season, he had his times where he was playing pretty well. It seemed like he struggled against speed rushers for whatever reason. He kind of struggled last year with footwork and hand placement. If he can get that down, I think that he has the strength. And it looks like he put on some muscle from the pictures that we saw of him in mini camp. So hopefully he can, improve this season. But if he doesn't, we do have Infetti here that's going to compete as well with him. And we also brought in, I think his name is Wilkerson, who is another guy that played for the Chicago Bears that can play, I think, right tackle and guard as well. So it's going to be a lot of competition out there. And with that being said, if you guys also want to go ahead and start dropping your questions in the chat as well, don't have to be necessarily about the offensive line, but if you have some questions about the Falcons this season, we are going to open it up for fan Q&A as well. But just in regards, like I said, to the offensive line, I kind of just wanted to touch, on that subject and just get you guys' thoughts on what you guys thought about the offensive line this season. Do y'all think that the offensive line will be better? Personally, I think the offensive line will be better this year. Like I said, just off of pure experience, guys like Jalen Mayfield pretty much played the whole season. Matt Hennessy, for the most part, played all 17 games. So now that those guys got those games under their belt, I think they're going to be a lot better this season. And Tony Wright says, at Kevin Henderson, glad you came to the channel. Also, Tampa Bay signed guard Shaq Mason from the New England Patriots with their other starters. Who was the backup on the squad last year? Aaron, I don't know his name. I don't know who that is, but he's definitely a backup. But I know Shaq Mason played for the Patriots, and he's a really, really solid guard, which that was probably a Tom Brady recruitment. He was probably recruited by Tom Brady. Red Swarm said, I would like to see some veteran competition brought in at center. I do agree with what Mad Mike said the other day, that we have to give these guys time to develop. I just like to see a veteran. I'm not necessarily opposed to that Red Swarm of possibly bringing in a veteran um, to play that center position. But I think at some point you do have to let these guys play, meaning these young guys that you drafted. And that was something last year that I admired about this new regime, even though I feel like they really didn't have much choice but to play the young guys because we didn't have money to go out and bring in veteran starters. So we kind of had to go with the rookie guys and give those guys a chance to play. But I feel like in the last regime, one of the big mistakes that Dan Quinn made and Thomas Dimitroff made, they didn't actually play the rookie guys, the younger guys. They didn't give guys like Quadri Olison a chance. To me, they didn't give guys. I can't think of the guy that played at the nose tackle position, who didn't play pretty much at all. He kind of stayed injured, but when he was out there, he really didn't get a fair shake as well. I forget his name now, but we had a number of guys that I feel like didn't really get a chance to prove their worth. Guys like John Kaminsky didn't play a whole lot. Even when we had Brian Hill, I was a huge Brian Hill fan at the running back position, and I feel like he was another guy that really didn't get a ton of snaps because we decided to sign Todd Gurley and we kept signing veteran guys instead of letting the young guys play. So I feel like sometimes the best thing to do is just throw those young guys out there after maybe like one season. Throw those guys out there and get those guys playing time. So the guys that we brought in last season, like the Ogun Dages that's coming back for his second season, the Richie Grants that we brought in last season, guys like Jalen Hawkins, who was here with the last regime but really didn't play a whole lot. I think that that's going to bode well for this Falcons team of bringing in those young guys and letting those guys play instead of signing guys the basically stifle the growth of your young talent. But with that being said, like I said, you guys can go ahead and drop your questions in the chat. If you have questions, we're gonna open it up to fan Q&A because you guys know I keep it to 1 hour. So at 9 o'clock, usually I start wrapping it up. So if you guys have some questions, definitely go ahead and drop your questions below. I appreciate that. Let's see here. Give me a chance. Y'all got to scroll down. And that's the name I was looking for, Elijah Wilkerson. He said, I love to see competition between Elijah Wilkerson and Caleb McGarry. Yeah, we brought him in from Chicago. I think that'll be I think Elijah Wilkerson will give him a run for his money. Let's see here. Bubba Gump says, hopefully year 2 guys are more comfortable in this system. Yeah, I completely agree. I think guys will be better this season. And Red Swarm says Lindstrom will be the all-pro this season. Looks like he has a chip on his shoulder from being overlooked. Most definitely. Yeah, I think Chris Lindstrom could possibly be a Pro Bowler, depending on how the Falcons season goes. Chris Lindstrom is one of those guys that is a forgotten man. I definitely think he's a top 100 player. I think Chris Lindstrom is probably one of the better guards, probably a top 5 guard in the NFL, if not top 10. But he's a guy that's kind of like a best kept secret on the offensive line for the Falcons because the unit, like I always say, you're only as good as your weakest link. So being that he plays on the offensive line that didn't play well last season, a lot of people don't really pay a lot of attention to how good both Chris Lindstrom and Jake Matthews. I mean, Jake Matthews has been one of the best left tackles in the league since he stepped foot in, on Flowery Branch or stepped foot in Atlanta. But he doesn't get a whole lot of respect either. They don't really talk about him when they talk about the best left guards in the league. I appreciate the super chat by Red Swarm, the $4.99 super chat. We definitely appreciate that. I would get the bell out, but I don't know where I put it. But I would ring the bell, but I appreciate you with the $4.99 super chat. let's see here. And Kevin Henderson says, do you think we will surprise? I don't know what he's saying right here. ALO. Oh, here you go. Do you think we will surprise a lot of teams this season? I definitely think that we have a chance to. I definitely think the Falcons this year could be a sleeper team because we're kind of under the radar. Like nobody's paying the Falcons no attention. I think the Falcons could possibly be like one of the wild card teams. I don't know about winning the division because you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in our division, and we have a pretty good division. Also, the Saints, they always play us tough, even though we play them the first week of the season. We know that they have a tough defense and they're well coached. So being that we have those two teams in our division, I'm not too worried about the Panthers, even though you don't want to overlook any of these teams. I think that the Buccaneers are right now the cream of the crop of the division. So I definitely think that we'll beat surprise a lot of teams this year, just for the mere fact that teams are not going to know what to expect. Now that Matt Ryan is no longer an Atlanta Falcon, I think a lot of teams, especially like the Saints, we play them week 1, which I kind of like that we get them early in the season because they're not going to have really any tape on our offense with Marcus Mariota as the starting quarterback. So I definitely think that we're going to surprise a lot of people because they're not going to know what to expect from our Falcons this year. And to be honest, I really don't even know what to expect. I think that this team was going to surprise a lot of people, but I don't necessarily know how many games we'll win. But I definitely think we're going to be better than a lot of people are projecting. And that was the name I was looking for earlier. Atlanta Nation. He said Deidre Sanat. Yeah, Deidre Sanat was one of those guys that we didn't give, to me, a fair shake. He was a guy similar to the same size as Grady, one of the smaller, short area quickness type defensive linemen or defensive tackles, 3 techs, but he didn't play a lot when he was here. He got injured his last season here, but the first couple years we had him, we never put him out on the field hardly. And the real says schedule is tough. We do have a tough schedule this season, but I think that we still are going to surprise a lot of people because from year to year, because injuries happen, because teams shuffle their rosters around, kind of like we did this year. Like if you look at our defense, we pretty much don't have many starters from last year other than Deion Jones, AJ Terrell, Grady Jarrett. I mean, for the most part, all of the other guys are going to be new starters. Jalen Hawkins will be a new starter if he ends up winning the starting job. Richie Grant will be probably a new starter. Lorenzo Carter, Ayo, he didn't start last season because we had Steven Means playing. So we're going to have a number of new faces. Eddie Goldman, Anthony Rush, all of these guys were either rotation guys who were backing up the starters, or they're new guys that we brought in either from the Bears, from the Titans, or we brought in free agency. So we do have a tough schedule, but I think that the schedule is not going to be as tough as it looks, depending on how well teams play, because usually the wins from last season, they don't translate over. Like you starting the season all the way over again. So I definitely think at this point, the schedule is a tough schedule, but I think it may not be as tough as we think it's going to be because teams change from year to year. And the real red says, I love the defense we are building, but Richie Grant has to live up to the draft position. I definitely think Richie Grant will live up to the hype. Richie Grant was one of those guys that I scouted, and he was one of the guys that I wanted the Falcons to draft, and they end up drafting him out of UCF. I seen him play when he was at the University of Central Florida, and he's a guy that flies around. He's similar to a DeMonte Casey, but I think he's a little bit smarter in the way that he plays, because DeMonte Casey was one of those guys that would just put his body on the line and risk. We seen him go head up with Zeke Elliott in the hole, but I loved even DeMonte Casey when he was here because he was a ball hawk. Sometimes he just gambled a little bit too much, but I think Richie Grant is one of those guys. If he learns how to take better angles, he's a really good tackler. He's a really good in coverage. So I definitely think that Richie Grant could be one of those guys to turn out to be a really good free safety or strong safety. Both him and Jalen Hawkins, I think, is going to be a really good tandem. But I definitely think he's going to live up to the second overall pick, a second overall draft pick or second round pick. I definitely think he's going to live up to it. I think Dean Pease just wanted him to kind of learn the scheme before he threw him out there last season. And let's see, I'm going to scroll up here because I think I missed a couple of you guys' questions. And Tony Wright says Deidre Snott didn't get a chance. Defensive end John Kaminsky didn't get a chance, nor did running back Quadri Olson. Yeah, all three of those guys, yeah, they didn't get a fair shake. I don't think none of those guys actually got enough playing time for us to know what they really were. Like at this point, I still don't know how good Quadri Olson is. So hopefully he gets a lot of snaps during preseason. He gets a lot of snaps doing training camp, so we can finally figure out is he starter caliber or is he a backup, or how good is Quadri Olson? Because I think he will fit this scheme perfect because he's a north-south runner. He's physical and he's about 6'1", 6'2". So he's a bigger running back and a downhill runner. So I definitely think that he's a guy, if he gets the opportunity, he definitely could be a guy that could do some things for the Falcons this season. And Tony says, with the players on defense and the depth that we now have, this defense is constructed to stop quarterbacks that run RPO. What are your thoughts? I definitely think that this defense is going to be better in the front seven, regardless. I think that this defense is going to be better because you have a rotation of guys, and we've gotten bigger on the defensive line, which I think is huge for this Atlanta Falcons team. That's something that I've talked about for years, is that the Falcons needed to get bigger. We were too little. When Dan Quinn was here, he wanted to be fast and physical, which is nothing wrong with that. But I think we kind of got away from the physicality and we were just more fast than physical. We didn't have those big guys up front. And I've always been one of those guys that talks about having size at certain positions. Like at the defensive tackle position, I don't need my defensive tackles to be fast. I need my defensive tackles to be able to stuff the run, to be able to allow my linebackers to roam free and run free. So I need speed at the linebacker position. I need speed at the safety positions, and I need speed at the corner positions. I don't necessarily need a ton of speed when I'm talking about defensive linemen, 1 techs, 3 techs. Those guys are supposed to eat up blockers. And if you got a lot of little guys in the trenches, we seen last year, the first game against the Eagles, where their offensive line was just blowing us off the ball. We seen the game against the Panthers the first time last season in Atlanta, where they pretty much ran the ball down our throat with Chuba Hubbard, and they pretty much blew us off the ball the whole game. They pretty much ran for like 200 plus yards. So that's something I never want to see again. And I think with this defense, we're definitely going to be better at stopping RPO. And I think we're going to definitely be better at the point of attack, which I think was what the Falcons struggle with. And shouts out to Big Ant with the $9.99 super chat. He said, what impact do you think Isaiah Oliver being back will have on this defense? This is a great question right here. Isaiah Oliver is Mad Mike's favorite, one of his favorite defensive players on the team. And he became one of my favorite players on the team because of his ability to tackle. You guys know, as a cornerback, a lot of people don't focus on how well you're able to tackle in space. A lot of times we just focus on, can the guy cover? And I think when they moved, when Raheem Morris decided to move Isaiah Oliver inside to be that nickel, he unleashed or unlocked the talent that Isaiah Oliver has, which I think Isaiah Oliver is similar to like a big safety. He's like one of those linebackers that come down like a box safety. He plays similar to like a Keanu Neal, but just has better coverage skills. I don't think he hits as hard as Keanu Neal, but he's a guy that can do a lot of things that Keanu Neal can do. He does a lot of things like a Jamal Adams. He's just a little bit better in coverage than those guys. But the one thing that I focus on with AJ Terrell and Isaiah Oliver is their ability to tackle in space. And in this Dean Pease scheme, he talked about it last season when Isaiah Oliver went down with injury. And I talked about this a little bit in my video. Isaiah Oliver is a guy that's a Swiss Army knife. Like, you can move him around like a chess piece on a chessboard, but he can make multiple moves on a chessboard. If you've ever played chess, having a piece that can do multiple things and move, and you can place in certain positions is basically invaluable. Like, that's one of the things that you can't put value on it. And I think that's what Isaiah Oliver, he's a Swiss Army knife player. He's that rover. You can use him as a linebacker in certain situations, like in a big nickel situation, or if you're in a dime package, you can use him kind of like a linebacker. You can use him where you can play him man-to-man inside. You can use him coming off the edge blitzing because he's really good at tackling, and he's very good at setting the edge in the run game. When you have him in the box, he's one of those guys, like I said, it's like another linebacker, so he can set the edge. But the difference between him and a lot of linebackers or box safeties, he's fast. He's a lot faster than the average linebacker. So playing him on the field gives you more athleticism, and he's a guy that can cover in space. So I think Isaiah Oliver is going to be huge. I just hope that he comes back from injury and that he's completely healthy. If he comes back playing at the level he was playing at last season, I really think Isaiah Oliver could be special and could possibly be re-signed to a bigger contract. He did sign a 1-year deal with our Falcons, but he's one of Dean Pease's favorite guys on the team, and Dean Pease talked about that numerous times last year, as well as he talked about being able to blitz. Like, when we lost Isaiah Oliver, we kind of lost the ability to heat the quarterback up and bring blitzes from everywhere because he didn't want to leave, young corners and Richie Grant and those guys. He didn't want to leave those guys in man-to-man coverage by themselves. The Darren Halls of the world that was playing in that nickel position. We got burned a couple times when Dean Pease brought the blitz because the blitz didn't get home before the ball. The quarterback was able to throw the ball. And then we also, in certain situations, either the cornerback didn't hold up, meaning they gave up a third down conversion, or they got a penalty for pass interference. So I think that Isaiah Oliver is one of those guys that's definitely going to be huge for the Falcons this year, especially because of his versatility. I think that's what makes him great. But I do appreciate that $9.99 super chat. But that was a great question. Mad Mike, what's going on, man? Y'all definitely go show him some love as well. Hit that like, subscribe button on his channel. He's on the road to 2K. But he says, how important will the return game be for the Falcons in 2022? This is going to be big, and this is something that K-Styles, if he's watching right now, I know he's somewhere smiling because he always talks about, as much as I talk about the defensive line and the defense and, getting after the quarterback, K-Styles loves the special teams, and he always talks special teams. And I think that this year, field position is huge in the NFL. So if you have a return man that can give you good field position, like the Avery Williams of the world that we had last year that did a pretty good job at returning kicks for us, even covering punts. He did a really good job of covering punts, running down as a gunner. And, him, Frank Darby, those guys did a really good job last year of covering punts. But being able to control field position is huge in the NFL. It's always great when you can put your offense on a short field. And that's something that I think both the special teams unit has to do, and I also think that the defense has to do. And I talked about this in my last video, is on defense, on third downs and things of that nature, you have to get turnovers. I mean, that's that's imperative. You have to get turnovers. You get turnovers, you give your offense short fields. So I really think the return game is going to be huge for the Falcons. Avery Williams is a guy I think that's going to end up being a punt returner or a kickoff returner. They may throw CP back there in certain situations, but it's going to be huge. And also a guy like Demir Bird that we brought in. He's another guy that's a speedster. You can use him in kickoff coverage, kickoff returns, punt returns. So I think it's going to be a battle between CP, Avery Williams, and Demir Bird. But being that CP is used a lot on offense, last season he was used a lot on offense. I don't know how much special teams you'll see out of CP this year. But Avery Williams and Demir Bird definitely will be two guys that'll be competing. But The return game is going to be huge. All special teams. Punting the ball is going to be huge. Making field goals, which Younghoe Koo has been arguably a top 2 to 3 kicker, if not the top kicker in the game the last couple seasons. He led the league in points last season as far as field goals and extra points. So having that, a great kicker, we know a lot of football games come down to a missed field goal, a made field goal, and most NFL games come down to one possession. So if you have a great special teams unit and they make plays when plays are presented, which we've seen with the Green Bay Packers and the 49ers in their game in the playoffs, where the 49ers blocked, I believe they blocked the punt. They end up winning the game and beating the Packers at Lambeau Field. I mean, that one play flipped the game on its head. So if you can have a returner, like I don't know if you guys remember when we had Devin Hester here, he did a good job of flipping the field for us. He did a good job of, returning kicks and punts for touchdowns and things of that nature. But if you can have a guy that can, do some things in special teams, which the Falcons for years were really good at special teams. For whatever reason, over the last couple of years, we kind of struggled in the return game. But if you remember back to the Allen Rossum days, the days when we had D'Angelo Hall running punts and running back kicks, and a lot of different guys we had here were really, really good return men. Deion Sanders way back in the 90s. We've had numerous guys that were really good at returning kicks and things of that nature. So we definitely have to get back to all phases as we talk about the 3 phases of the game: offense, defense, special teams. We need everybody to do their job. And let's see here. Dreddy says, which one of our corners do you think QB will target more, most this season? This is going to be tough. I really think it's going to be hard for quarterbacks to pinpoint who to attack if we only have 3 corners out there. Like if we're in the nickel set, I really think that they're going to try to attack our linebackers, to be honest. Like if Deion Jones is not able to play game 1 against the Saints, I really think that quarterbacks are going to try to attack the middle of the field. I really don't think they're going to go after our corners, because now that you have AJ Terrell on one side, Casey Hayward on one side, and Isaiah Oliver, out of those 3 guys, if I had to attack a corner, just to answer your question, it probably would be Isaiah Oliver out of those 3 guys, because I think he's the worst in coverage out of Casey Hayward and AJ Terrell. But even Isaiah Oliver is not a bad corner when you put him on the inside. So I think that probably Isaiah Oliver or whoever the 4th corner is, whether that's Darren Hall, whether that's D. Alford, these guys that are not proven, I can see a quarterback trying to target them. But just if it came down to like us in a nickel package, I think teams are going to go after Rashaan Evans. I really think Rashaan Evans is the guy that they'll try to go after in coverage. So they'll try to throw the ball in the slot either to a tight end or throw the ball to a running back out of the backfield if Deion Jones is not out there, because Deion Jones is pretty much the eraser, or he eliminates pretty much any running back he's covering or any guy in the slot. Deion Jones has that type of speed where he covers like a corner. But if he's not able to go from game 1 because of that shoulder injury, I really think a lot of people are going to target Rashaan Evans. And that's the reason why the Titans let go of Rashaan Evans, because he's not the best in coverage. He's really good downhill, in the run game, but he's not the best when it comes to coverage. That's not his game. He's better just going downhill. And let's see here. So who should we get in free agency out of all the free agents left? The guy that I would go with in free agency right now probably be Anthony Barr. A lot of people are sleeping on Anthony Barr. He actually was playing off-ball linebacker for whatever reason with the Vikings the last couple seasons. But if you go look at Anthony Barr's numbers when he came out of UCLA, he was mainly outside linebacker used as a pass rusher. And for whatever reason, the Vikings decided to move him to off-ball linebacker. But he's a guy that I would go after, either Anthony Barr or Jason Pierre-Paul. Those are the 2 guys that I'm looking at if I'm the Falcons, because I think we need one more veteran when it comes to pass rush. And I think Anthony Barr is a guy that would fit our scheme because of his athleticism. He's a guy similar to like a D'Angelo Malone, but he has a little bit more weight, but he's long, 6'4", 6'5", really long, and can rush the passer. He did that well at UCLA, but for whatever reason, the Vikings decided to move him to off-ball linebacker. His numbers kind of dipped after they moved him off the ball. But I think if the Falcons go out and bring him in, I would use him strictly as a guy on the edge, like a defensive end or outside linebacker, where he's mainly just on the line of scrimmage. I wouldn't use him as an off-ball linebacker, but he's versatile enough where you can drop him in the flats in certain situations. And he's another guy that's really athletic that can spy on QBs and things of that nature. And outside of Anthony Barr would be JPP. We know with him playing for the Buccaneers the last couple seasons, he's kind of been a thorn in our side and a thorn in a lot of quarterback sides because JPP is a guy who's done it at a high level for a really long time. It will be similar to when we brought in Dwight Freeney from the Colts. So those are the two guys I would go after. Let's see here. Uncle Steve's Lounge, what's going on, man? He says, which offensive player do you think will lead us in TDs? Pitts, Patterson, or London? This is another really good question, but a tough question. I'll say this season, I think that Drake London is actually going to be the leader in touchdowns. You guys know that I wanted the Falcons to draft him out of USC, the young wide receiver, 6'5", 200 plus pounds. And I think he's going to lead the Falcons in touchdowns because a lot of teams are still going to double up on Kyle Pitts because they know what Kyle Pitts is capable of. They know that he's like a nuclear weapon. And then now they know what Cordell Patterson is capable of after last season with him scoring like 11 touchdowns. So I think Drake London is going to be the guy that's going to lead the team in touchdowns, surprisingly, as a rookie, because a lot of teams don't know what to expect. Yeah, you have the college tape on him, but I think the first agenda that the defense is going to have when they put up, on the whiteboard or they pull up tape of the Atlanta Falcons, when defensive coordinators pull down that projector during the week, public enemy 1 and 2 is Kyle Pitts and Cordell Patterson. Those are public enemy number 1 and 2. So Drake London is kind of the guy who has a question mark where they don't know what he's capable of, similar to a CP last year where teams didn't know what he was capable of until he showed it and put it on tape. So until Drake London proves to defensive coordinators that he's that dude, they're going to leave him in one-on-one situations. He's going to have to prove to them that he's a big-time player. And I think early on, he's going to prove to everybody that he's here. He's going to be similar to what Kyle Pitts did last year when Kyle Pitts put on the show last year and put a lot of the NFL on notice, because around the league right now, people are already calling Kyle Pitts a top 5 tight end. So, but this is a great question, but I think it'll be Drake London. I think he'll be the guy that's going to surprise a lot of people. And Bill's 9F says Desmond Ritter is going to be a Russell Wilson. I hope so. I mean, I think Desmond Ritter is a guy that everybody's talking about. Just listen to him talk. He sounds like a leader. Like everywhere he's been, Cincinnati, he's won everywhere he's went. When he was in the rookie mini camps, they pretty much were saying that he was the first one in the dorms that was waking up. He was making sure he was on top of his playbook. They said that he was pretty much on it. Like Arthur Smith talked glowingly about him, said that he was light years ahead, of a lot of rookies that he's been around as far as the quarterback and picking up, the calls and things of that nature, being able to call the plays out in the huddle, being able to get guys in the right position on the offensive line, getting the wide receivers in the correct spot. So being that he's just listening to him talk, he seemed like he's wise beyond his years. I think he has all of the tools to be, a future franchise type quarterback in this league. But of course, he's going to have to go out there and prove it. I don't think this year he's going to actually, be the starter or get his chance to start. As much as they're saying it's an open competition, pretty much bringing in Marcus Mariota kind of eliminated that open competition just for the mere fact that Marcus Mariota knows the playbook like the back of his hand. Like he was with Arthur Smith for I think like 2 or 3 seasons in Tennessee. So being that he knows Arthur Smith forward and backwards, it's hard for me to believe that Desmond Ritter is going to be able to, upseat him or take his spot as the starter. But I definitely think that he has a chance to be a Russell Wilson type. And knock on wood, if injury happens, you never know. He might get thrown into the fire, similar to like a Dak Prescott situation when Tony Romo went down with injury during the preseason with the Cowboys. So we just have to wait and see. But I definitely think Desmond Ritter has a chance to be one of those guys that could be special. And if you guys haven't already, hit that subscribe button for your boy. We are going to get ready to start winding it down. We have about 9 minutes until 9. So if you guys want to continue to drop your questions in the chat, we're going to answer a few more questions and then we will jump off. But I appreciate each and every one of you guys tuning in. I do thank you guys for continuing to share out my content. I have 49 in the chat strong. So I really appreciate you guys, everybody that's tuned in, everybody that shared this content. Wherever you're watching, I also am streaming it from my Twitter page. So if you guys want to follow me on Twitter, definitely follow me at Jew Talk Sports. I normally stream from there as well, and also here on YouTube. So we definitely appreciate you guys. And Tony Wright says, I disagree. The free agent we should try and seriously sign is J.C. Tretter. He would solidify our offensive line, and Drew Dalman could learn a lot from him. And I talked about this a little bit early in the show, Tony. I don't mind bringing in a guy like J.C. Tretter. My thing is sometimes when you bring in a veteran guy, it pretty much stifles the growth of your younger players. And it kind of stifles these guys while they're on their rookie deal. Like if you can play rookies and rookies are actually good, like I talked about in 2016, when we were able to play guys like Deion Jones, Devondre Campbell, Keanu Neal. That goes a long way when you can bring in rookies and they can come in, hit the ground running, and play well. So I wouldn't mind bringing in a J.C. Tretter. The only thing I don't like about that is that we see with the last regime when they brought in Alex Mack, I don't think that we did a good job of bringing in somebody behind Alex Mack to learn from Alex Mack while he was here. So when Alex Mack left, we had somebody that could just step right in and not miss a beat. I kind of feel like we always are going in and bringing in a guy in front of the young guy, basically to kind of stifle their growth. And I don't think sometimes that's the best move. But I mean, if we brought in J.C. Tretter, I would love it. I'm not opposed to it. I just think that if you do that, what's the point of you having 2 guys on rookie contracts that you could save that money and use it elsewhere? So, we only have so much money to go around with the salary cap at the end of the day. So we can't pay everybody. If you go out and get J.C. Tretter, you're going to spend that money. And to me, there has to be a reason why J.C. Tretter is still on the free agent market. Like maybe he either is asking for too much money, or maybe teams are looking at, we don't have to have a top center. I believe, the center position is one of the most important positions, but I just think give these guys a chance until Hennessy shows me again the tape that he showed me last year, that he just not picking up the offense, and him or Drew Dalman can't take that starting role, take the bull by his horns and take over. I'm not going to just move on from those guys and have 2 guys taking up roster spots. And Tony says, I truly believe that with Lorenzo Carter and Arnold Ebiketie getting pressure and sacks, that Grady Jarrett can potentially have a double-digit sack season. I think so, but I don't know if Grady is going to necessarily have double-digit sacks. I think he can do it, but I don't really care if Grady has double-digit sacks necessarily. I just want to see him have some help, and I want these guys to succeed as a unit. And that was kind of why I wanted to talk about the offensive line. It's like you're only as good as your weakest link. And I talked about this last night. If you guys were watching Mad Mike and K Styles, or 6-Man K Styles, they were talking about the defensive line, and they were talking about Grady Jarrett. And I basically stated that the lone wolf dies without the pack. If you got a wolf, it's a reason why wolves run in packs. I don't care how strong of a wolf you are. You could be the head, the leader wolf, but if he leaves his pack and he gets caught without his pack, and gets into gets attacked by another animal or gets into a battle with another animal, his chances of surviving that without the pack with him are a lot less likely of him surviving it than when he has the pack with him. So I always talk about we're only as good as our weakest link when it comes to the defensive line and when it comes with the offensive line. And we seen that last year with Jalen Mayfield and with Hennessy. Yes, Jake Matthews and Chris Lindstrom are all pro, offensive linemen. But if you have one offensive lineman that can't carry his weight, the lone wolf dies. It's the same thing with Grady Jarrett. We know that Grady Jarrett's an all-pro defensive talent, but last season he didn't play well, or he didn't have the numbers, and it looked like he didn't play well because he didn't have the guys around him. So that's what I mean by the lone wolf dies. Like, it doesn't matter how good you are as an individual. If you don't have the necessary pieces around you, doesn't matter how good you are as an individual. And that's what Grady Jarrett, pretty much what has happened to Grady Jarrett the last couple seasons. And Red Swarm says, are there injury concerns? I wouldn't say that there's too many injury concerns other than Marcus Mariota staying healthy the whole season. That's the only concern I have. And that's with him running and learning how to slide and protect himself. He's the only guy that I'm really, really worried about, other than him and Isaiah Oliver that's coming back from injury. Those are the two guys that I have, injury concerns about, is Marcus Mariota being able to play a full 17-game slate if they're using him on quarterback keepers, and him taking hits and him knowing when to run out of bounds, knowing when to get down, and Isaiah Oliver. Those are the two guys, because Isaiah Oliver, well, I take that back, three guys. Also Deion Jones, because he's coming back from shoulder surgery. So that's nothing to sneeze at when you're a linebacker. You're taking on 300 plus pound, men going downhill. That's definitely could affect that shoulder injury that he had. And Builds 9F says, thoughts on trying to get Adamakin Sue. I would like Adamakin Sue, but Adamakin Sue is one of those guys that you love him if he's on your team, kind of like a Draymond Green, because he talks a lot and he does some dirty stuff occasionally. So I would like him to bring some type of toughness to this Falcons team, and I think Adamakin Sue definitely would be great next to Grady Jarrett. But I don't know if the Falcons are going to get him, because I've seen that the Browns, I think, are a team that's really seriously considering bringing him in. And it was another team that was being reported that is really interested in Adamakin Sue. And I think Adamakin Sue wants a certain amount of money, and I don't think the Falcons have the type of money that he's looking for. And that's the reason why the Buccaneers decided to let him walk, and they decided to bring in I forget the guy that I wanted from the Bears. They end up signing him instead of bringing back Adamakin Sue. So I think Adamakin Sue might be out of our price range. But if we can get him, I mean, I would love to have him on our team, because he's definitely an instigator, and he's definitely one of those guys that is going to bring toughness. And I definitely think that he'll love to sack Tom Brady, his former teammate. But with that being said, we're going to get ready to wrap it up. And there you go right there, Akeem Hicks. Yeah, I couldn't think of his name. Yeah, Akeem Hicks is who the Tampa Bay Buccaneers decided to sign instead of Adamakin Sue. So he definitely will have a chip on his shoulder. If we can bring him back and bring him back to the NFC South, that would be something to behold. But I don't know if the Falcons had the money. I think we don't have the money the type of money he's looking for. Because if we did, the Bucs would have kept him if he wasn't asking for that type of money. But with that being said, I do appreciate each and every one of you guys for tuning in tonight. I appreciate you guys' questions. Dreddy says, you definitely the minister preach. Laugh out loud. Yeah, I need my towel. I need my preacher's towel, and I need to stop passing the collection plate. But I do appreciate you guys joining tonight. Like I said, we do this every other Wednesday, but definitely continue to drop your questions in my community tab. Drop your questions or DM me on Twitter if you have a question that you want me to do a video about. Don't forget to also tune in to all of the shows. Monday night, K Styles and Mike normally does Cooler Talk, which now they're doing your questions. Tuesday nights, I believe it's convo, a 6-man convo. So y'all definitely want to tune in. Wednesday nights, we have heavy hitters and what's the word, Dirty Bird. And on Thursday nights, I believe AFN that also does their show. So you guys definitely going to want to tune in tomorrow night. Shouts out to AFN. Shouts out to Maggie, Miss Maggie T. Y'all definitely go show her some love as well. They're back doing content. And on Fridays, you guys know it's all about the fans. What we do, bring you guys on the show, and it's Friday Night Madness. So you guys definitely show everybody here some love. Mad Mike, 6-man K Styles is on his road to 1K. I believe he's under 50, if I'm not mistaken, maybe less than that, as far as hitting that 1K. And your boy is on his way to 2K. So you guys help me get to 2,000 subscribers. My goal is to get there before the season kicks off in September. I think we're like maybe 150 away, if that. So y'all help your boy get to 2,000 subscribers. But with that being said, this been your boy Jew. I'm going to give you guys your night back. I hope you guys have a blessed rest of your week. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up. Peace. Salute. I'll holler at you guys.